Hello, everyone. It's Art Russell here at Think Twice on YouTube and thinktwice.me at wordpress.com. Today, I'd like to share an account that I hope will help increase your ability to trust life itself, that it's working out okay, even when on the surface it may appear otherwise. All of us go through challenges, and I know that gets trite. It's pretty stale. But the account I'm going to relate today points to that even when I didn't know where my character was being led, that something good came out of it. Now I had to be open to it. But anyway, so let's go ahead with this. A little backstory. Back in 2006, a sudden divorce, and that was a painful transition to single life, as I have now. So I found myself on this one day driving to a nearby city, only about maybe 40 minutes away, and I thought to distract myself, I'll go looking for a book. So I went into a large bookstore there, a well-known one here in Canada, and I went to the kind of the self-help area and spirituality. It wasn't about religion, because I used to think of that as just being formal religion, not the deeper meaning of to bind back to our true self, to recognize our higher self again. Anyway, I found this book. You probably know it or may have heard of it. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Now, at that time, he wasn't nearly as well known. That was about 2007, spring or summer of 2007. Wasn't nearly as well known as he is now. He's a renowned spiritual leader, teacher. And anyway, so I'd like to read you a short passage from his book. So this is from the introduction of it. This is what helped me, even though I didn't know how this was happening. The origin of this book. I have little use for the past and rarely think about it. However, I would briefly like to tell you how I came to be a spiritual teacher and how this book came into my existence. Until my 30th year, I lived in a state of almost continuous anxiety, interspersed with periods of suicidal depression. It feels now as if I'm talking about some past lifetime or somebody else's life. One night, not long after my 29th birthday, I woke up in the early hours with a feeling of absolute dread. I had woken up with such a feeling many times before, but this time it was more intense than it had been in the past. The silence of the night, the vague outlines of the furniture in the dark room, the distant noise of a passing train, everything felt so alien, so hostile, and so utterly meaningless that it created in me a deep loathing of the world. The most loathsome thing of all, however, was my own existence. What was the point in continuing to live with this burden of misery? Why carry on with this continuous struggle? I could feel that a deep longing for annihilation, for non-existence, was now becoming much stronger than the instinctive desire to continue to live. And he's got this in quotations. I cannot live with myself any longer. End of quotations. This was the thought that kept repeating itself in my mind. Then suddenly I became aware of what a peculiar thought it was. Am I one or two? If I cannot live with myself, there must be two of me, the I and the self that I cannot live with. Maybe, I thought, only one of them is real. I'll continue here. I was so stunned by this strange realization that my mind stopped. I was fully conscious, but there was no more thoughts. Then I felt drawn into what seemed like a vortex of energy. It was a slow movement at first and then accelerated. I was gripped by an intense fear and my body started to shake. I heard the words, "Resist nothing," as if spoken inside my chest. I could feel myself being sucked into a void. It felt as if the void was inside me rather than outside. Suddenly there was no more fear, and I let myself fall into that void. I have no recollection of what happened after that. Now, he goes on in this book to share more information about what really happened. And what that really comes down to, it was his disidentification, his real self, disidentifying from his character. Now, I've spoken about this in other of my videos, that we get freedom from suffering, not as the person, but when we know our person to be kind of like an avatar, a character that we get to use during this incarnation. Now, all of the pain and suffering that I had was related to the story that I kept in mind and repeating in some of it. So if it's pleasurable, we like it. We look back on old times and we think, oh, that was good. Wish I could have that again. But even that can turn to suffering if we realize, gee, I'm not going to get to have that again. That's the voice of the false self inside. Anyway, I just wanted you to know that there's material out there like this that can be of help. Book after book, I was led to, not knowing at the time that I could just trust and that life would be okay. If you'd like to find more information about this, I'll even offer my book entitled This Taste of Flesh and Bones, which is available through Amazon. Bye for now. Take good care.